Welcome back. It is 58 minutes now after the hour. Before you leave the House, here's what's happening today. Attorney General Jeff Sessions expected to submit amended testimony on his interaction with Russia's ambassador. His written response is meant to answer questions submitted by Democrats on the Judiciary Committee. Sessions has already recused himself for all investigations involving alleged collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. And President Trump is expected to sign a brand new executive order on immigration today. Iraq is expected to be removed from the no-travel list, but the new order will still put a temporary halt on people coming here from 6 other Muslim-majority countries. And it's your last chance to get free Starbucks. The coffee chain is offering buy one, get one on all their macchiatos between 2 and 5 p.m. How much sugar can you drink?
Well, now it is time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Up first, the good. Dressed in a tiara at a table, fit for a queen, this Chicago girl ditches her 6th birthday party to help feed the homeless instead. People lined up around the block to receive a hot meal and a care package. She used the money that her parents would have put toward a party for the event. Very nice. And the bad, a woman in Washington, fed up with her neighbor's noisy drone, decided to do something about it. You can see her at first throwing rocks before going back inside to come out with a gun, taking aim. Not clear if she actually shot it. And finally, the ugly, a huge alligator stunning golfers in Florida with a big catch.
Wow. What a sight. He's holding on to that fish.
Yes, he was. The gator strutting across the course with that giant fish in his mouth, disappeared eventually into that pond to enjoy his meal.
Is that considered sushi, right?
No, yeah. He was just showing off a little bit. Look what I caught.
Oh, Fox and Friends begins right now. Have a good morning, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I think he's right in that there was surveillance and that it was conducted at the behest of the Justice Department.
These are remarkable allegations. I think another attempt by President Trump to change the subject.
For the part of the national security apparatus that I oversaw, there was no such wiretap. I can't speak for other authorized entities in the government.
Everybody needs to take a deep breath and calm down here. We are working in a bipartisan way to collect facts.
FBI Director James Comey is now asking the top law enforcement in America to say President Trump is wrong.
If Mr. Comey has something he'd like to say, I'm sure we're all willing to hear it.
We're going to follow the facts wherever they lead us.
Can you say that no Obama staffers have been involved in leaks?
The men and women of our intelligence community are patriots. They don't deserve to be attacked or accused of having a political motive.
Wow, Andy Grammer continues to be the voice of the morning.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's something about his music that wakes you up.
I am glad to be alive. That's a great theme for this morning.
Absolutely.
Glad we're all alive.
No
there was
kidding.
a lot of breaking news over the weekend.
Really?
My word. So the President
start?
of the United States, Donald Trump, is saying that he was surveilled by President Obama's administration, and he is now calling for an independent investigation to get to the bottom of this.
And he'll get it. That'll be part of it.
Obama, probe on tap. Congress will investigate Trump's claims. That's on the cover of the New York Post. And then, here's a good one on the cover of the New York Times. FBI chief pushes for the Justice Department to refute Trump. This article, which is based on leaks, says that James Comey has told people, look, we told the Department of Justice, you've got to tell people that the FBI did not do that because it insinuates that the FBI broke the law.
Well, that's
Keep in mind, this is it's their report, but it's based on a leak. It is based on unnamed sources.
So, if there is going to be, this is what the accusation was, and as Mark Levin laid out wonderfully yesterday on this show and on his show on Thursday, he looked through the Washington Post, the Guardian, the New York Times, and said this is clear that in July a FISA request was made to go ahead and tap the Trump Tower phones to go after one source in particular and their links to a bank. It was denied, which almost never happens. This according to the early. This was happened to the earlier reports. And they tried it again in October, and they got it granted. Donald Trump sees this on Friday or Saturday, and at 6 a.m. roughly, he begins to tweet about it, how outraged he would be that the Obama administration would be behind him as a candidate and as president-elect trying to surveil him. However, the pushback is They have the National Intelligence Director saying we didn't do it, and a report saying that James Comey wants the Justice Department to come out and say the FBI didn't do it.
He's saying it didn't happen because it would be illegal according to these reports in the New York Times. But we know that James Comey is not afraid to come out and talk. So Kellyanne Conway is saying, come on out, Mr. Comey. Tell us if this is true or not. Listen.
If Mr. Comey has something he'd like to say, I'm sure we're all willing to hear it. All I saw was a published news report. I didn't see a statement from him. And so I don't know what Mr. Comey knows. If he knows, of course, he can issue a statement. And we know he's not shy.
Okay, so Kellyanne Conway is going to be on with us at 7 o'clock this morning, and she makes a good point. I mean, keep in mind, the New York Times story, unnamed sources. It says that Comey wants to do it, but so far the Department of Justice nor the FBI have released any particular statements. Keep in mind, what this all comes down to is Donald Trump said, look, I just found out that I was wiretapped before the election.
I mean, it's not. It probably, in retrospect, this was a tweet. He caused a lot of consternation in his world by doing it, and he wanted to push back. But he could push back the same way he's been pushed. He could say, "I wonder if there's anything to that." He could put his chief counsel on this story and then leak out that the White House is concerned that maybe the previous White House was going after him.
See, I think that he thinks for sure that it happened. I mean, the initial source of all these stories in the other newspapers and with Mark Levin and Breitbart and everything else was Heat Street. And their reporter, Louise Mensch, apparently found out about this secret FISA warrant that was clearly approved. And now the White House counsel, Don McGahn, is trying to get his hands on that particular FISA warrant. Will he be able to do it? Don't know. Just know that James Clapper, who is very familiar with FISA warrants and how the FISA courts work, had a denial about them doing anything wrong. Listen to this.
If something like that happened, would this be something you would be aware of?
I would certainly hope so. I can say, obviously I can't speak officially anymore, but I will say that for the part of the national security apparatus that I oversaw as DNI, there was no such wiretap activity mounted against the president-elect at the time, or as a candidate, or against his campaign. I can't speak for other Title III authorized entities in the government or a state or local entity.
So basically, he doesn't know. I mean, the question Chuck Todd asked him, if something like this happened, would this be something you would be aware of? He says, I certainly hope so.
He also went on to say there's no evidence of any collusion between the Russian wiretaps, between the Russian hacking and the Trump organization. None. And then when Chuck Todd followed up, he said, when I left, there was no collusion. Right. I don't know what's happened since. Well, since we know that President Obama said, hey, NSA, you could share all your information with every single intelligence branch. And if you're wondering how a leak happens, that might be where a leak happens.
Well, here's the thing. When you listen to James Clapper testify on a show, talk on a TV show like Meet the Press, some people on Capitol Hill go, wait a minute, you can't trust him. Remember back in March 2013 when he just flat out lied to a sitting member of Congress?
So what I wanted to see is if you could give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly.
What does that even mean? Well, that was Senator that was Democratic Senator Ron Wyden asking that question because he has trouble with the scope of what the NSA is doing.
Well, then we learned Edward Snowden revealed all that information, that was not the truth.
So now let's take a look at what the intelligence community wants you to know and doesn't want you to know. In fact, in terms of what the Obama administration did or didn't do in upending the Trump administration as he was president-elect and a nominee. Keep in mind, too, as you look at what the president does and hasn't done, we know for sure that the president was able to look at dialogue, at intercepts of Benjamin Netanyahu's conversation with U.S. congressmen and women as it relates to the Iranian deal and as it relates to President Obama. So if he was actually going back and forth on that, and also it's kind of interesting that Senator Coons says transcripts exist from the Trump Tower to from the Trump Tower, he believes, and some type of Russian source. Then he later walked that back yesterday. Then in comes Josh Earnest, and he was asked about that. Now, before, let me back up a second. We have John Favreau saying this. And he was one of the chief architects of all the early speeches by Barack Obama. He said this: "I'd be careful about reporting that Obama said there was no wiretapping. Statement just said that neither he nor the White House ordered it." So that's interesting. Why was he parsing the words of the president's spokesperson?
Listen, as we just heard from Mr. Clapper, I don't know about... nobody under my purview did it, but I don't know what the rest of the government was doing. Martha Raddatz, who really tried to take apart Sarah Huckabee earlier in the telecast yesterday, where she was really holding her feet to the fire. When Josh Earnest came on, they had an exchange that was extremely friendly and really didn't have many answers, but nonetheless, we thought we'd play this for entertainment purposes.
Seb Gorka, a deputy assistant to President Trump, is accusing President Obama of being behind recent leaks from the intelligence community. Can you say that no Obama staffers have been involved in leaks?
Martha, what I can tell you is that the men and women of our intelligence community are patriots, and these are professionals who have served presidents in both administrations. They don't deserve to be attacked or accused of having a political motive.
Thanks very much for joining us this morning, Josh.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Right, shortened it a little bit.
He didn't even answer the question. He said they're patriots.
Right.
Not a yes or no.
Could they have leaked? All he had to say was Josh Earnest said, I cannot see it.
Well,
Instead, he says they're patriots.
And Martha Raddatz did not press him on the issue. And I believe, wasn't she the one that cried when President Trump was elected?
She was crying. She was tearing
that was
up.
the night.
She was tearing up. Look, why would Donald Trump feel this way? Keep in mind, from day one, it has appeared that his foes have been out to try to get him. They have leaked damaging information to the press, in some cases broken the law. Brian, when we were interviewing the president last week, the president feels that some of these protests that have turned angry against him have been organized by the former president. The New York Times said specifically that the staff purposely spread information throughout the administration to hurt Trump. And the political team, the Obama team, when you think about it, has a record of abusing power. Keep in mind, that IRS thing, was that an abuse of power? Hello.
I got a total pass. There was never any type of angry questioning about that from Martha Raddatz, George Stephanopoulos, or Chuck Todd. Right. But real quick, I'd just like to add this. He has evidently gotten extremely mad at Steve Bannon over the weekend, Reince Priebus over the weekend, President Trump over the weekend, as well as his chief counsel, Don McGahn. And I hope it's a wake-up call, because as we have a guest coming up a little bit later that is extremely close to him, who came out and said basically the team around him is letting the president down. He needs better people around him to have either get together and work with him more efficiently, because he is new at this, but he needs to have a staff. He needs to have a staff wake-up call.
Well, Kellyanne will be on the show. We can ask her about it.
I think he feels, according to a press report I've read, that he feels besieged by all these leaks, because many of them are against the law and they're all set.
Well, and you know what it's doing? You know what it's doing? It's making America think, can we even trust these individuals that are running our intelligence community?
So anyway, another slow news day, as you can see, and we kick things off here on this Monday morning. In the meantime, Heather joins us right now. We've got some scary news out of North Korea.
Yeah, let's talk about some of that other news. In case you missed this Fox News alert: North Korea intensifying its show of force overnight, firing several missiles provocatively close to Japan. The U.S. strongly condemning the launches, calling it a violation of UN Security Council resolutions. The chilling intimidation tactic from the communist country coming just days after joint U.S.-South Korea military drills kicked off. And just hours from now, President Trump is set to sign a brand new executive order on immigration. The draft, too, will include some major changes. One of them is expected to be removing Iraq from the countries on the no-travel list. But restrictions will put a temporary halt on people coming here from 6 other Muslim-majority countries. And finally, it is something that President Trump has promised since the start of his campaign.
We are going to repeal and replace Obamacare We're getting rid of Obamacare. It's going to be repealed and replaced. I am also calling on this Congress to repeal and replace Obamacare.
And now, sources tell Fox News that top Republicans are set to outline their Obamacare replacement plan as early as this week. The GOP promising a bill that protects Americans with pre-existing conditions, expands coverage options, and does away with the penalties for those who opt out of the coverage. And there's been a big controversy around that.
Yeah, because Rand Paul's not happy about it. The Freedom Caucus is not happy about it. So the Republicans are hashing it out in public.
All right.
Back to you first, right?
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, still ahead. Attorney General Jeff Sessions recusing himself from the 2016 election probe. But could his replacement be the Obama administration employee trying to undermine President Trump? We will take a closer look.
That's quite a headline. Meanwhile, from Russia with love. Was this Playboy model really a spy from Moscow? The airport interrogation straight ahead.
Wait, I need to see more evidence.
New York City.
More evidence. More evidence.
Go faster.
I don't know.
My staff recommended recusal. I believe those recommendations are right and just. Therefore, I have recused myself in the matters that deal with the Trump campaign.
And there you go. Attorney General Jeff Sessions no longer part of the probe into Russia interfering in the election. And now, a new bombshell report says former President Obama tried to interfere with Sessions' replacement. Here to explain is the author of that report, senior writer for the Weekly Standard, Mark Hemingway. Mark, what are you basing this on?
Well, something fishy happened the final week of the Obama administration. The Obama White House quietly changed the line of succession of the Justice Department so that an Obama-friendly prosecutor would be put in charge should Jeff Sessions have to recuse himself. Now, obviously, last week, Attorney General Jeff Sessions did recuse himself from certain investigations involving the Trump campaign. Fortunately, a few weeks before that, the Trump White House caught on to what the Obama administration had done and changed the line of succession back such that a respected career Justice Department official will be handling those investigations. However, the prospect of an Obama crony having the power to appoint a special prosecutor to launch a politically charged inquest directed at the White House raises a troubling question. Did the Obama White House try and plant a booby trap to ensnare the Trump White House? In the absence of another explanation, that's a lot what it looks like.
So how does Sally Yates fit into all this? And by the way, the new person in charge, acting investigator or heading up the Justice Department, would be Dana Boente.
Yeah, that is correct. He's the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. He was appointed by Obama, but he has a respected reputation from both parties as you know, basically being a solid career Justice Department official, which wouldn't be the case with the U.S. Attorney from the District of Columbia, who Obama wanted to be in charge, who was a senior advisor to Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch at the Justice Department under Barack Obama, and has a working relationship with Eric Holder going back over 20 years. I don't think anybody would view him as particularly impartial in this situation.
I mean, Mark, this is it's incredible what's going on. I mean, you have a situation where the president, current president of the United States, sees a major conspiracy here. He's convinced, he knows there's nothing behind the Russian ties and the outcome of the election, but yet it seems to be a sophisticated plan that's been laid out after the president left and went to the beach.
Well, I think we have to be very careful as reporters, and I think we have to stick to the facts. But having said that, I do think there is mounting empirical evidence here that there is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes involving former Obama administration officials and plans that were laid before Trump took the reins of power at the White House to suggest that, you know, there are people out there actively trying to undermine what Trump is doing.
And until he can drain his own swamp, he can't drain the swamp over in Congress. It's unbelievable, and put his own people in there. Mark Hemingway, senior writer for the Weekly Standard, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, straight ahead. Coming up, are intelligence community holdovers from the Obama administration trying to undermine President Trump? A man that would know joins us next. The former director of the CIA, the NSA, General Michael Hayden, joins us now to discuss. And how far will the media go to take down Donald Trump? How about the New York Times actually asking the government to break the law? Can they do that? Well, think about it and answer it.
We have some quick headlines before we get to our next very special guest, a general. From Playboy model to undercover agent, this lady right here, Victoria Banya, says that she was detained at LAX airport because police thought she was a Russian spy. TSA agents found a business card for a company that makes hidden cameras in her luggage. The model says that she was asked about Vladimir Putin and the KGB. And illegal immigrants here in the U.S., if ICE knocks on your door, don't open it, at least according to Mexico. The country posting this handy video online with some key advice to avoid getting deported. They don't want you back.
Meanwhile, former President Obama's role in badgering President Trump and his cabinet sparking the question, are holdovers in the intel community playing games to undermine the President of the United States? To some, it looks like that.
Joining us right now to weigh in is the former director of the CIA, NSA, and author of this book, Playing to the Edge, which is fantastic. Now it's out on paperback. General Michael Hayden, welcome back to the couch.
Morning.
Good morning.
Guys.
Yeah, go out and pick this up. It's really great. Gives you an understanding not only of your career, but how the NSA and CIA work and what you've experienced.
I wish we had something to talk about.
Yeah. So can we talk about this? The president tweets out on Saturday that it looks like President Obama was tapping into him at the tower, wiretapping him at the tower, and he's outraged. Is he right?
My instinct is no. All right. And it looks as if the president, just for a moment, forgot that he was president. And why didn't he simply use the powers of the presidency to ask the acting director of national intelligence, the head of the FBI, to confirm or deny the story he apparently read from Breitbart the evening before?
That particular story based on a Heat Street article that said that in, I think, June or July, a FISA warrant was sought. It was denied. And then October, it was approved so that it would allow the FBI agents to do surveillance on Trump's campaign and associates as well.
Yeah. Now, I don't know the operational background. As you know, I've been out of government. But we apparently now have the director of national intelligence saying, well, we didn't do anything like that. And through the New York Times, it appears that the director of the FBI is also saying, we didn't do anything like that either. Neither of them would have done specifically what the president said, which was the president of the United States ordered surveillance on Trump Tower.
Well, the president would never do it. He would have his people do it.
No, actually, he wouldn't even be involved. I mean, you stay way back from this because of the separation of powers. After the mid-1970s, that authority is taken away from the president. The only way you get there, if you get there at all, is through a judge. And he's got to have probable cause that the target...
Sure, but who would make the presentation to the judge?
It would be the FBI or the CIA or NSA.
General, will we be able to see this FISA report?
No, it would be really unprecedented. Now, this is we're off the map here. We're in unprecedented territory as well. So perhaps at some point, in order to set the record straight, we may do something unusual. But
who can see it then?
Well, right now, FISAs are a very narrow chain of custody. Even let's just say FBI goes out and gets a FISA. It's a 100-man shop. There may be only 3 or 4 folks who are allowed to see or even be aware.
Could the president see?
If the president wants to see it, I believe the president can see it.
Because there's a story that the White House counsel, Don McGahn, is trying to get.
So there's a chance he saw it, and that's why he tweeted this out.
Ainsley, the way the plumbing works, the president wouldn't see these things.
I want to tell you about this plumbing.
Excuse me, but you just said the president could see these things.
If the president, by exception, I'm really talking about President Trump, in order to clear this up, could he demand to see this? And again, it would be unprecedented, but we're in unprecedented circumstances.
Absolutely, because it has one president hitting another president, and also there's somebody leaking out, and many people think it's within the intelligence agencies, which is unbelievably bad for the American people. But in terms of unprecedented, tell me what's wrong with this, General. In 2015, the Wall Street Journal reported this. Behind the scenes, the White House decided to keep certain allies under close watch. Topping the list was Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a foreign entity, obviously. White House officials believe intercepted information could be valuable to counter Mr. Netanyahu's campaign. They also reckoned, and that was to push back against the terrible Iranian deal, also recognized that asking for it was politically risky. So the White House let the NSA decide what to share and what to withhold. And there's a report that the president was reading the transcripts of interaction between the congressmen and women and Benjamin Netanyahu. So that would be pretty scary and wrong, correct?
Well, it's edgy, All right, so you admitted, Brian, that Benjamin Netanyahu is a legitimate foreign intelligence target if we were to choose to go do that. And I'm reading this through the press just the same way that you are. Now, when you've got U.S. persons mentioned, information, we call it to, from, or about a U.S. person, now you've got U.S. privacy involved in special rules click in. Normally, you suppress the identity of the U.S. person to protect American privacy. By the way, that last
the report said he was reading it.
Yeah, but the last part, that NSA was given the authority to decide how to report the intelligence in the intercepts. That's actually a good step. That's an apolitical step. That's allowing the professionals to make the choice without the White House pulling levers.
Let me just add to this. The end of this quote says, "We didn't say do it," a senior U.S. official said. "We didn't say don't do it."
Right.
Plausible deniability.
No, well, in one sense it is, and at the political level, it's smart. All right, but at the level of intelligence, let the professionals decide what constitutes the intelligence value of the report. Remember, I said the U.S. identity is suppressed.
Right.
Unless the U.S. identity is essential to understanding the intelligence. And by the way, NSA makes that kind of decision every day.
Right. Is that what happened with Michael Flynn?
Yes.
So they decided that Michael Flynn's name had to be exposed?
I'm assuming that everything I've read is correct. And in that case, I could see the logic in that you would what's called unmask the identity of the U.S. person, because without that, you don't understand really what you've got.
General, can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
What about this New York Times story that says that at the end of his administration, Barack Obama's staff purposely spread a lot of intel, secret stuff throughout the administration so that essentially to sandbag him? And it looks like they relaxed the NSA rules to do that.
I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, I'm reading the same press reports, but I did note, not happening often around here, I guess, but I did note that Jim Clapper said that was not true, that he did not see that happen.
That's what he said.
Jim actually said they circled the wagons, kept it tight hold because it was so sensitive.
So it's just the opposite.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
General Hayden, thank you. Congratulations on the paperback.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, and
I read a bunch of it yesterday. It's great.
All right, coming up straight ahead.
Former Attorney General Loretta Lynch calling for blood.
They've marched. They've bled. Yes, some of them have died. This is hard. Every good thing is. We have done this before. We can do this again.
Her outrageous call to protesters next.
Yeah, against Trump. And by the way, U.S. Soccer taking a stand, making sure something like this never happens again. You will stand for the anthem or you won't play. Carly Shimkus with more. How many times we said that?
What a cheery song to start the Monday. Well, as you look at New York City, live from 48th and 6th Avenue, it's Fox and Friends. Thanks for joining us. U.S. Soccer now taking a stand for the national anthem, and social media loves it. Here with more on the things that are trending, Fox News Radio headlines 24/7 reporter Carly Shimkus.
Oh, good morning.
Yes,
soccer lighting up social media. So on Saturday, they announced a new policy that would ban any player or coach from protesting, taking a knee during the national anthem.
Good. They play for the American team.
Bingo. That's what a lot of people, Ainsley, are saying online in response to this. Here's some of the official language. All persons representing a federation national team shall stand respectfully during the playing of national anthem at any event in which the federation is represented. So this is in response partly to a player, Megan Rapinoe, who followed in Colin Kaepernick's footsteps in September. So now soccer officials are saying not on their watch, and social media is loving it. Noah tweeting, as it should. If you want to protest the U.S., don't play for the U.S. soccer national team, kind of like what Ainsley just said. And then Michael said, agree. If you are member of any national USA team sport, stand for anthem first, then for change.
Right. It says for a club team, do whatever the heck you want. That's up to the MLS or the Women's Pro League. But I think it's also important, too. They were the first league to come out. They were the first body to condemn when Rapinoe took a knee. They condemned her before the game was done.
Yes, and it's a very different response than what Roger Goodell, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, had, where he actually applauded the players and said, you know, he wants them to stand up for
Has Megan said anything since they've made this announcement?
No, she didn't play this weekend because she's 34 years old, so they're trying some new players.
Meanwhile, somebody who's standing up is Barbara Streisand. And Barbara Streisand is saying, Donald Trump is making me gain weight.
Yes! Exactly. How strange. She took to Twitter saying, Donald Trump is making me gain weight. I start the day with liquids, but after the morning news, I eat pancakes smothered in maple syrup. That sounds fun. That's what I'm eating, but not because anybody's telling me to.
No therapy dogs or bubbles or coloring books for her.
Pancakes.
Right.
I kind of like that.
That's why Agassi left her. This is the whole thing. She's always blaming people. Exactly. So what is Twitter saying?
So Twitter saying, one woman on Twitter said, Barbara Streisand, weren't you leaving the country? This is the big rule here. Never say you're going to leave the country unless you do, because that statement will haunt you for the rest of your life.
You know what? She could go to France and trade the pancakes for crepes.
Oh, that sounds delicious. And another response, Barbara Streisand is gaining weight, and somehow it's President Trump's fault. Personal responsibility, fail.
I had a lady tell me that she cut her hair, that Donald Trump made her cut her hair because she needed it in a new style.
Oh,
to make her feel better.
Wow. Was it a good haircut?
She's adorable.
Really.
Okay. A friend of mine, yeah.
Let's talk about somebody with an incredible sense of humor, also a governor, Governor Mike Huckabee.
Yes, he is making people laugh on both sides of the aisle. Yesterday, he tweeted, at museum in Oslo, wasn't sure if this was Edward Munch's The Scream or Nancy Pelosi at Trump's speech last week. I want to know where he comes up with these ideas. He's so funny. He should be a stand-up comedian. So if you ever want a good laugh, just look at his Twitter feed. So one person tweeted, in Oslo to receive, this is another tweet that he sent. He was in Oslo to receive an award for his support of Israel. So that's where he was officially, but he had a little bit of fun as well.
He did. That's great. And of course, his daughter was doing a great job on the talk shows on This Week with without George Stephanopoulos.
Absolutely.
And so she was good over there.
Great family.
Well, Carly, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carly.
All right, we'll listen to you on One Channel 115.
Perfect.
Happy Monday. We're going to make it a great
We
week.
sure are.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
All right, 20 minutes before the top of the hour, Heather Childers has got the news.
Yeah, Heather. Brian, I forgot that Andre Agassi dated Barbara Streisand.
I'll never forget
it. We'll begin your headlines with this, though. Loretta Lynch now calling for blood, encouraging protesters to help get the president out of the White House, even if it costs them their lives.
They've marched. They've bled. Yes, some of them have died. This is hard. Every good thing is. We have done this before. We can do this again.
Well, the former Obama Attorney General also using that video to accuse the Trump administration of trampling on civil rights. However, she failed to offer any shred of evidence supporting that claim. And it is no secret that President Trump doesn't like the New York Times.
Failing at New York Times. The newspaper's going to hell.
Well, now one columnist for the Times is openly calling on the government to break the law. Nicholas Kristof tweeted, if you're in IRS and have a certain president's tax return that you'd like to leak, my address is NYT 620 8th Avenue, New York, New York. Now, it is a felony to disclose confidential tax information with a 5-year prison sentence. And the hunt is on for this daredevil who jumped his dirt bike right over a California highway. The blink or you'll miss it stunt posted on Instagram sparking outrage. People saying, well, not only did he put his own life in danger, he also put those cars below him in danger. Police now looking to talk with the man in the video, which has raked in over 70,000 views on Instagram. Wow. And those are, look at your headlines. Don't think I would be doing that anytime soon.
Crazy pictures. All right, thank you.
Wear a helmet if you do.
I'm always happiest when I'm flying through the air on a bike.
With the greatest of ease.
Absolutely. Realize straight
So right now you're really unhappy?
Couldn't be more unhappy. Meanwhile,
you know what? Let me go make you some pancakes.
Let's do that. Yeah, I want to put on some weight. All right, a pro-Trump rally turns into chaos as violent protesters clash with peaceful demonstrators.
Clash.
A mother of 4 who was at that rally says enough is enough. She joins us live coming up.
Plus, she teared up when President Trump won the election. So what does Martha Raddatz think of the wiretapping claims? Listen.
The President of the United States is accusing the former president of wiretapping him.
I think that this is, again, something that if this happened, Martha,
How does she really feel? But don't tell the left-wing media the evidence comes straight from their own reports. We're going to break them down for you coming up next. If, y'all, if.
Well, the left-wing media in hysterics over President Trump's wiretapping claims. Watch this montage.
The President of the United States is accusing the former president of wiretapping him.
I think that this is, again, something that if this happened, Martha,
if
It was jarring. President Trump accusing President Obama.
They haven't given any proof, but they have given Trump supporters a brand new talking point, that Trump's problems are really Obama's fault.
But they don't know much of his claims come from their own reporting. Here to discuss is Christopher Bedford, editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, according to New York Times and others, there was wiretapping, and the information was then provided to the White House. Look at this. New York Times. Trump offering no evidence says Obama tapped his phones. Trump's baseless wiretap claim. All of those things where they're talking about how hysterical things are. And yet, when you look at some of their reportage, they've talked about these wiretaps.
Yeah, the question is not if. The question is how much did the Obama administration work to sabotage the incoming administration, to listen in on them? We have reporting the Daily Caller, we have reported the New York Times, the Washington Post that says that they were listening in, they were looking in, they were checking to see what kind of collusion he might have had with the Russian government. Of course, there really probably wasn't any collusion at all. And so the question isn't even if. And now people to go back and attack their own reporting to try and say that, well, this is different. It's preposterous.
Right. Chris, what do you make of that? Why are they doing it? I mean, if they've had evidence and they printed it in their own newspapers that, yeah, there were wiretaps, all part of the Russia investigation, and there was no collusion, why are they now, why is their hair on fire today?
Well, you've seen it living in New York. I see it living in D.C. This weird Trump derangement syndrome that seems to have struck. Yeah, it seemed like it might be a passing thing. People may calm down. And it's nuts. They haven't. I start to wonder. I see these people who maybe appeared to be respectable a year ago getting more and more and more out of control. A New York Times columnist calling for Trump's tax returns to be illegally leaked. And people in the outgoing White House, the past White House, who maybe thought of themselves as good civil servants, suddenly going out of their way to sabotage the next president in a democracy.
Sure.
This derangement system has caused people to really spin out of control. And Donald Trump has shown that a lot of people in the media are exactly what maybe some on the far right had always said they were. They're total liberal shills.
Well, and you look at the record of the Obama administration, I mean, they do have a record of abusing power. Just take a look at what they did with the IRS and targeting conservatives. I mean, that's pretty clear, isn't it?
It was absolutely. I mean, the stuff that Richard Nixon ended up getting in trouble for didn't even hold a candle to using the IRS to target private citizens. If you were a guy named Charles or David Koch, you'd wake up every morning to hear the leaders of your country attacking you as a private citizen. And not only that, but even publicly, in the months before Donald Trump came into office, tying him up with executive orders, doing everything they could, changing the succession lines, as we talked about earlier, at the Department of Justice. So if Sessions is targeted, then he leaves. And most troubling of all, these deep state leaks against guys like General Flynn, these spies who are saying, hey, we've listened to these conversations, we're going to leak it to these reporters.
Sure.
It's an actual... It's the shadows of a police state happening while people are afraid and say that Trump is leading it. It's crazy.
And it is crazy because Mike Flynn's name was supposed to be masked because he was in the United States. If they're looking at the Russia stuff, and somebody in the administration, in the intel community somewhere, said, let's take the name off so everybody knows and try to blow them all up.
It's one of the biggest stories of the year, easily.
Why aren't all the channels talking about that?
Because of this Trump derangement syndrome. It's crazy. I mean, if you're listening in on the newspapers and you're reading, you think that the biggest story is that Senator Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, a senator from Alabama, is colluding with the Russian government. That is crazy. That's conspiratorial. What's not conspiratorial is that spy agencies that are charged with protecting the United States, protecting the interests of the administration and the United States citizens, are using their power to attack. It's like Oliver Stone's worst nightmare is coming true, but instead of being outraged, the people are excited and they're celebrating it because it's Donald Trump as the target.
Sure. Well, we're not suggesting that the whole intel community is like that.
Of course not.
But it does appear there could be some bad actors there somewhere. All right, Chris Bedford from Daily Caller. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. All right, straight ahead, Kellyanne Conway is going to join us live from the White House with more reaction to our